Hey, Gracie, tell them what they're watching.
Welcome back to Popcorn Culture Podcast for popcorn, soda pop, popular media, and other popping things. Sage here.
Aaron, and Mason.
Yeah, people should know that by now. We got to build the brand, don't we? Okay.
Exactly.
We get our popcorn from Poppin' on Main. It's a local business here in Quincy. They change their menu every month. And we get some of that, and we try a different novelty soda each week. This week's soda is grape, and grape soda and grape flavor candy is one of those very
Sit down.
okay. It's one of those divisive things, along with watermelon flavor and candy corn and pineapple on meat and stuff like that. That just some people just cannot stand it. But so we'll see how this particular grape soda holds up.
I have to give this one props already. I mean, drink
Oh,
ghoulish grape soda. It's fantastic. Give it a try for the pun alone.
Yeah, I mean,
seriously.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't know what ghouls have to do with grapes, but this is a bottle opener version. Okay,
Where'd you get? Yep, you got it. Came prepared this time.
Yes,
cool.
I did.
Okay, and our popcorn flavors. You got some just movie theater style, regular buttered kind. It's always there. I don't think we've had it before, and we got the jalapeno cheddar. And I made sure to get this month's gourmet flavor, which is salted caramel. It's got it's the regular caramel popcorn with the chocolate drizzle and sea salt. So I'm excited for that. Gotta remember the gourmet flavors more often because I'm sure I've missed a few because there's only one every month. Thank you.
I'm always excited for the gourmet flavor just because of like how creative they get.
Yeah, it's fancy. Yeah, I have no awareness of constantly saying and yeah, but I edit these videos and I do that, and
Yeah.
it's why most of the content on this channel has been meticulously scripted up to now.
Get it.
Okay, so there we go. This week we watched Dune in preparation for its second half, coming out in a couple of months. We're going to go see it in IMAX, but probably not do an episode on it right away in solidarity with the writers and actors who are currently on strike. From what I can tell, we're encouraged to see new releases, but not promote them. Something like that. I'm just doing what I can. We'll do our Dune 2 episode sometime later.
Ideally, the strike will be over. Hopefully, and
Oh, yeah, I mean,
comes
yeah.
out.
Yeah, I'm
Please.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm embraced for it lasting another couple of months, but no, I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
The novel Dune was published in 1965 by Frank Herbert. It was a tale of cutthroat political intrigue among blue-blooded noble houses, basically Game of Thrones in space, and I stand by that, even though its publication predates that of A Song of Ice and Fire by 3 decades, because this kind of story usually takes place in a medieval fantasy world, not a galactic setting. Herbert published 5 sequels to Dune before his death in 1986, and ever since then, his son Brian has teamed up with author Kevin J. Anderson, publishing 16 other books set in that universe. But to my knowledge, nothing that's really eclipsed the original in cultural impact. The first film adaptation of Dune came out in 1984, written and directed by David Lynch. It was fairly faithful to the book, and its imagery is fairly iconic to the story, but all the same, it's freaking weird and not a very good film. Another screen adaptation aired on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2000 and had a 2003 sequel based on the second and third books. Are they good? I don't know. Nobody watches TV miniseries.
No.
I heard it was okay.
Yeah,
Better than the 80s movie, but I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah, I heard okay.
I've seen clips and it looks terrible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, TV budget that was used to be a thing, but okay. Here we're talking about the 2021 film. I don't know how surprising it was that it was only a part one. I know a lot of recent films like it have been kind of making that a surprise that they're actually part one. So it adapts roughly the first half of the book. I don't think any of us have read the book, but we have read about the book. The film was directed by Denis, help me with the last name.
Villeneuve, I believe is how you say it,
Villeneuve,
but I do
okay.
not speak French.
Nope.
So if I am getting your last name wrong, we apologize.
Yeah, okay. Villeneuve, okay, director of Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. So
He also directed a phenomenal film with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal called Prisoners. I highly recommend it. It is one of the best. It's one of the first films by him I watched, and I thought it was just phenomenal film. So shameless plug, watch Prisoners too.
Okay, yeah, I was focused on the two I knew of. I saw Arrival, and yeah, so it seems like he's done some stuff in science fiction, but that stuff has mostly pushed forward on its own name. And here, despite Dune being a brand name in its own right, he really stamped his own name on it, which was yeah, pretty nice. He's expanding, it seems. And as always, we'll end my little visual aid section here with a cast list. We have Timothy Chalamet as Paul Atreides, Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto Atreides, Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, Stephen McKinley Henderson as Thufir Hawat, Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, Javier Bardem as Stilgar, Sharon Duncan Brewster as Dr. Liet Kynes, Chang Chen as Dr. Wellington Yue, Dave Bautista as Glossu Raban Harkonnen, David Dastmalchian as Piter de Vries, and Zendaya in a mysterious small role that no doubt promises to get larger as Cheney.
Oh yeah. Heck of a cast in this one.
Yeah, that was
Oh my gosh. Like all of them are from old to new actors. There's a whole plethora of different types of talent. Like I said, old talent, new talent, just all from different types of genres.
Yeah, that is what caught my eye right away. Is yeah, just a very good. It's an epic cast list, and with the desert setting, yeah, definitely a classic old school style epic that you haven't seen in a while, and yeah, with a big name cast, that was all epic and intense.
Quite frankly, in this cast, I really couldn't point to a single weak link. I felt that every person who showed up knew why they were there and gave everything to bring their characters to life.
Exactly.
Batista, weak link. Batista.
I
I gotta yeah. That's
What
just
do you mean?
I couldn't take it seriously because I know him as Drax, and it's funny when Drax tries to be serious, and so seeing him try to be genuinely serious here, and I mean it's. Yeah, I know I think it's supposed to be like, a dumb savage character, but it didn't convince me. He just didn't convince me.
I don't agree, but I think part of that is the fact that his character didn't play as much of an active role in this particular film.
No.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do in the sequel.
I mean, I could take David Dastmalchian seriously, and he's very silly in the MCU as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I disagree, but
I mean,
all right.
with Dave Bautista, I kind of like they don't show him very much in the movie, and like I think he maybe gets I don't know. I mean, he's in the background a lot, but he never gets like a full follow dialogues.
He's more of a reactionary character in this one, but again, I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the sequel.
Oh yeah,
because I believe that's where we're really going to see
him, like,
not just him, but the entire Harkonnen family really take up that antagonistic role. And I think that will give them some of their best moments.
I just remembered something. I'm not going to say it now. We'll get to it later down the line. That might change if he actually is in the next Dune 2 coming up. Because I just remembered a certain scene where a lot of Harkonnen die.
Yeah. No, he made it out of that. He was there afterward.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Like nobody knows.
Not the Harkonnens, but the people who were in that room.
Yeah. And so I got you now.
So yeah, he was definitely around after that, like for the healing bath scene.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we do not have any kind of a structure after I'm done with my intro. We talk about this bit of the film, that bit of the film.
I didn't know if we want to like kind of go down the line of how it starts, and it starts almost mystical in a way.
Yeah, it is. It's all about the mystical nature of the human mind, and so yeah, I think what I want to start saying is that we have done a little bit of research. Mason showed us at least one feature-length breakdown of this film and how it relates to the first half of the book, and Aaron has mentioned he's watched a couple of other helpful guides that he found. Yeah, because it is very lore dense, and
sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry. It's very lore dense, and I didn't even realize until it was pointed out by that video that a lot of that lore isn't actually set out right in the film, and I think Mason and I found ourselves explaining things to Aaron because I saw Dominic Noble's review of Dune, which was I think the second episode of Lost in Adaptation many years ago.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I knew a lot of the lore going in when I saw it. I what I don't remember and still don't from the Dom video is the plot. I had no idea where this movie was going. I have no idea what might happen in the sequel. So that is good. I know I remember the lore, but not the plot, which is a pretty good way to go into an epic, sprawling, lore-heavy movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, just like you said, just in the beginning part, I've kind of spoiled myself a little bit because I got into it. As soon as I learned to watch this movie, I dived hard into the review.
You learned about the other half, huh?
Not fully. I tried to not spoil myself,
Yeah, I too know a few things about the upcoming
but just
second half.
very little. And
Yeah.
so I know a few things about it, like I don't want to spoil, but there's the scene where Jessica, Paul's mother, is sitting in like a cave with a bunch of scribing around her. She's got blue eyes, and then she has a baby with her. I found that out through reviewing. Spoilers.
In fairness, that scene is in the movie.
It is in the movie, but it doesn't explain anything. Because when I first watched it, I thought it was like Jessica and Paul when he was a baby and they were in the desert, but it isn't. It's actually Paul's sister. Yeah. And so it starts to dive in real deep. And then another thing, like
So we try so hard to avoid spoilers in the first half of these videos, and you've just spoiled the next movie.
not entirely. There's a scene there. The
I-
scene is
A
there.
portion of it,
Yeah.
but not anything super major.
No,
Because
it's like I said, it's in the movie. You see Jessica with the baby.
mhm.
You don't fully know, but you kind of like if you're smarter than me, you can figure it out. I feel like.
Yeah. That said, going about this entire film, I just want to point out that when I first watched this, when it came out in 2021, I did no research. I also had seen Dominic Noble's review, but much like Sage, I didn't really remember the plot either. I knew the infamy of the 1980s version with Kyle MacLachlan, but I didn't. I knew very little. So even though I went back and I did my research, I was still able to perfectly digest this movie first time through without having everything explained to me. It left me with questions and intrigue that I wanted to discuss, which honestly, that's what a good movie should do.
Yeah.
It should make you want to look more into things and examine it, but it was still a perfectly watchable film that I really enjoyed.
I mean,
But-
if you have to do homework afterward, it's kind of failed a little bit as a film, but
Well,
something
yes.
something so big for Dune.
Yes and no, because I feel that when I went back after I watched
Like a review
a bunch of reviews, a bunch of supplementary material about explaining some of the things, when I went back and rewatched it, I loved the film.
yeah.
The experience was heightened for me when I knew, oh, and that's what that meant. Oh, and that's why they're saying it that way, and that's
Yeah.
what that means. It became so much more intriguing, and it just, like you said, made me want to know more about the world, about the characters, about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I think the book it's one of those books that's been called unfilmable, and I mean, I think at this point, you can't you can't call books that anymore because
No.
film's gotten good.
Yeah.
Film's gotten
Yeah.
good, and it started to. I don't know. At some point, I think probably. I don't know, probably sometime between the Harry Potter films and the Hunger Games films, book adaptations started really caring about the fans and therefore being super loyal to the books, and that's just and so that became a thing now, and the unfilmable is now filmable.
Well, one film that this one personally reminds me of is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings,
Oh yeah.
because while Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings was supposed to be a phenomenal adaptation, what I liked about that series, and I'm not talking about The Hobbit, so don't bring it up. What I liked about the Lord of the Rings series is that they not only went out to make a good adaptation, they went out to make a good film as well.
Yeah, I think.
And this one, I believe, absolutely achieves that goal, which is why I feel you can watch this movie without knowing anything about Dune and still get something out of it.
Yeah.
The cinematography in this film is phenomenal. The special effects are probably some of the greatest I've seen in a sci-fi movie, probably since the original Star Wars, and that's going by 1977 standards. That's saying something.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I loved the score by Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah.
And this is
So
probably
good music.
my favorite score he's ever done. And again,
Yeah,
this is the
he's-
guy who
he's-
won the Oscar for The Lion King.
He's
and this is
always
his
good.
best.
He's always good, but this was different, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this was
Listen to you.
this was like this will probably rank in some of my favorite top tier film scores of all times, right up there with people like Ennio Morricone and Bernstein and the king of them all, John Williams.
Yeah.
This is one of those scores that I can go back and I can listen to on its own.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Just like
And all it did was serve to heighten the narrative that much more, which is what a phenomenal film score
exactly.
is supposed to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I just have to agree with you. It's pretty damn good because it almost. I know there isn't music in real life for certain situations. Like you come up like, oh, something happened, da da da. That's not actually happening. But like he said, this music was so good, it made you think this music was happening while they were actually there. Like there was somebody like that for some reason had a band in the background playing this beautiful music. And it's like if they just skewed the camera just a little bit to the right or panned it to the right, you could see this band playing. Like, they have their own music with them all the time.
Hans Zimmer over
Yeah.
there.
Hans Zimmer over there. Well, one of my favorite examples of a film score is actually from Star Wars: A New Hope. When Luke is looking at the setting suns and you hear that John Williams score, you know what he's reflecting on, you know his emotions, and you know what the character is going through. I absolutely got that with this one as well. Whenever the music swelled in a particularly tense scene, one of my favorites being when the sandworm was coming, you knew not only was the situation tense, but Paul was really grappling with something and he wasn't sure how to react.
Yeah. How did I actually work with the sandworm?
While again heightening that tension underneath that he's trapped, but danger is still coming, whether he likes it or not. That is what a phenomenal film score does, and that is what this movie is just phenomenal at. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes in the next one.
And hands out to Charlemagne for playing Paul Chalamet, sorry, for playing the character so well. Like I don't know if he was like. It just seems he fits the role as Paul just to a T. Like just like I said, I haven't read the books, I haven't went on audiobooks. Just from what I've reviewed, the character that he plays is just dead on.
Yeah,
and I did hear through some of the reviews that some of the cast members had to watch Dune breakdowns to understand the character and the story plot more. And so, but hey, that's just commitment to an actor to their character. Like,
well,
that speaks more for the actor.
You want to do some research on your role, and yeah,
absolutely. And well, to piggyback off that, Chalamet has proven to probably be one of the most promising young actors of his generation. That's saying I really hope that doesn't come back to bite me, ironically. But the trajectory of his career.
Please don't molest anyone.
What I was going to say, the trajectory of Chalamet's career currently reminds me of is that of Leonardo DiCaprio's. As someone who is just so inherently gifted as an actor, and it shows in their work from even a very young age. I mean, Chalamet is one of the
dreamy.
Okay, yes, he's got nice. He's got nice hair, but I think that's partly, well,
he's dreamy. Okay.
No, I was going to say that was also an aspect that was played up with Leonardo DiCaprio, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Early on, both of them at a young age, for Leonardo DiCaprio, Oscar nomination at I want to say 21 or 22 for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and Chalamet at age 21 or 22 for Call Me by Your Name, which I've seen that film, and while I have some issues with it, there's no denying his performance is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I actually kind of pay attention whenever he does something because I know if nothing else, he's going to give a good performance.
Yeah.
That Wonka film, I don't know what the hell to expect, but I'm sure
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going to give it everything he's got.
Especially watching Dune now, going to that. That's gonna be really weird.
And they're coming out within a couple of weeks of each
I
other.
know,
It's
gonna be
But again,
really
I
awkward.
have no doubt he is going to give Wonka everything he can possibly give it, which is actually a really tall order considering, previous Wonkas. But we're not here to talk about that
No,
movie.
I will stick with Sage here about how dreamy he was, because no matter how terrible the scene or traumatic the event or dangerous the outcome that he was in, he always did have nice hair. He always seemed to be nice and curly and like just set right, never was out of place, even when he comes out of burying himself out of a sand pile.
Again, like DiCaprio on the Titanic
Okay.
with very, very 1997 hair.
It just reminds me a couple of weeks ago at work, I was covering the Today Show, and they played a commercial for perfume.
Mm.
You want to know what the commercial entailed?
Mm.
It was literally the Moody Blues Nights in White Satin playing for about 15 seconds as he slowly just turned towards the camera. And it's like, come on, at least Jake Gyllenhaal had to get on a sailboat. Do something. We get it. You're hot, but come on.
Hell.
Attempt to do something.
What was the guy who played in Star Wars? Now I forget the
Oscar Isaac.
no, the guy who played in the New Hope guy, but the moody Darth Vader.
Oh, Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. Didn't he have a scent that he was like half centaur in the commercial?
Well, that's the word was the look at me, the tickets are now diamonds. I'm on a horse. That kind of
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's a dynamic perfume commercial right there.
Exactly. Something that like really
The man
stands out.
your man could smell like.
But the idea that for Chalamet he's so hot that they have to just have him slowly turn to the camera while the Moody Blues plays, it's like, well, they certainly know how to market him.
I mean, Chalamet could sell spice to anybody if he tried to.
It's easy to sell spice. It's highly addictive.
It is.
And it tastes like cinnamon.
It tastes like
apparently.
cinnamon.
But
It's also blue.
all joking aside, though, Chalamet truly is a phenomenal actor, and I feel that if you're going to show anybody one scene to highlight just how well he plays this character, it's
The peach scene.
I was wrong movie. The Gom Jabbar test.
Is that
The needle and the box.
The
Oh,
needle,
yeah.
box. Yeah, that's pretty intense. Yeah, you gotta be a good actor to
Yeah.
pull off anything resembling that
And
scene.
that's exactly what director Denis Villeneuve thought when they filmed it. It's
Yeah.
like, I have a phenomenal actor playing Paul.
Dude, he did so good.
Yeah.
Even like, and then kind of in the story of the crux of that scene, where Paul like itched his neck before he entered. That was popped in my brain, symboling that something like he can already feel the needle like about to poke his neck, and like he knows that the threat is coming. He's preparing himself for it.
That reminds me. Did either of you guys watch the channel Cinema Therapy?
No.
Sounds
No,
familiar.
it's about a filmmaker and his therapist friend, and they watch movies, they talk about the filmmaking, they talk about the emotion, and what the filmmaker always says is that the best special effect in cinema is a close-up shot of an actor's face.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And
In
Yeah.
many ways, that is very, very true.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, that's exactly how you're capable of portraying
yeah,
intense emotion.
good.
I maintain that half the reason Anne Hathaway won her Oscar is because of a very, very tight close-up.
You talk about "I Dreamed a Dream." Just the whole song is just on her, and she's
Yeah.
getting all snotty while singing, which
Hey.
is not recommended. But
The tight close-up definitely sold the emotion, even if the singing had some problems. I'm just going to say that.
We're we ought to review the popcorn a little bit too. I think the jalapeno cheddar too vegetable-ish for me. Yeah, just too heavy on the jalapeno. Yeah, and the salted caramel. It's very salty. It's all natural sea salt there, and so yeah, it does overwhelm the nice caramel chocolate bit. So let's try the butter. So yeah,
I like that one.
so yeah, I'm a little
It's simple.
See, I'm just not a big fan of jalapeno, and I'm not a big fan of caramel.
Caramel gets stuck in your teeth. And the
Yep.
jalapeno is a very distinct flavor that
Yeah.
you have to be
I
like.
just never really liked jalapeno personally.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised it's not doing it for me because I like jalapenos on a burger, man. When I have a jalapeno
Oh.
burger and I finish it, I get sad because it's gone.
Okay, so
Yeah, back and the grape soda is very nice if you're into grape soda.
Very- hold on.
I like it a lot.
It reminds me of Pitch Black Mountain Dew. The first,
I
like the
can't
very, very
remember if I've
first.
ever had that.
Not familiar.
Anyway,
Um,
but going back to the film, like we were saying though, this movie touches on a lot of subjects that if you don't fully understand them, you can still grasp them. One of the
Oh, yeah.
best scenes being at the very beginning when Paul wakes up and he's having breakfast with his mother, and she wants to test him using what is called the voice. And the voice is this Bene Gesserit, think like space nun psychic ninjas
Yeah.
who can essentially use the voice to
Pass the
influence
butter.
yeah to influence people to their will, and she essentially gives a very excellent demonstration of, if you want your water, use the voice to make me give it to you.
Which is a weird thing for a son to do to his mom.
Although at 15, I totally understand the idea of being too lazy to get up and walk to the table to get it.
Mom,
The idea that you're just too tired to want to get up and do it, I totally
I
get
mean,
that.
I think he gets the point is to use the voice, not to get it
That's-
himself. Yeah.
Plus, his mom can pretty much kick a lot of people's asses too, because as they say later, she fights in the weirding way.
Well, and what's the group that she's part of? I
The-
heard-
The Bene Gesserit.
Bene Gesserits. They are not a secret group, but a group of highly intelligent assassins.
Slash space nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like space
They
nuns.
they dress kind of like space
Yeah,
nuns.
because the mother of them all, I don't know exactly her
Her
name.
Mother Superior.
No, Mother Superior, yeah,
I
something
forget
like
her
that.
name. Yeah, but
Mother
she's a Mother Superior.
Helen Gaius Moyam, I believe, is how you say
Creepiest
that.
woman you ever meet.
Mhm.
An actress who played her did a phenomenal job at her. You can't really see her face for most of it because she has this this very good looking black veil that's got like black beads going through it all.
Shot in a very dark room.
Very dark room, very dark and menacing the entire time. Any scene she shot in, very dark room, very menacing, just all the time. But just how they are all, even the mother, are all these just highly trained assassins, especially the using of the voice, and how she used the voice like to against Paul during that scene where Paul was like, even don't use the voice on me ever again, or you'll face the consequence. He doesn't say it that way, and he says it a lot better. Also, now I'm rambling, and I don't know where I was going.
I think we could elaborate on the test of the box.
Yep.
Hand in the box, poison needle right there at the neck. A lesser mind will flinch away from the pain and right into the needle and die.
An
An
animal.
animal, yeah, that's
Yeah.
how they
do
say
that.
An animal, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lesser mind, and it's all about the triumph of the mind. And yeah, that as the big video that you sent us pointed out, that yeah, the theme is the triumph of the mind and the power of the human mind, and I believe in it. Yeah,
And the idea
I don't
that
believe
fear is the mind
yeah,
killer.
I don't believe that I can do it, but I believe the human mind is capable of a lot of good things.
I don't know. I think you put a poison needle to a lot of people's necks. I think some people would probably endure pain knowing, I endure this and I might live. I flinch and I'll instantly die.
I do like though.
I suppose it doesn't take a spice to give that kind of logic. Some people are that logical, but I mean, pain does stuff.
Oh no, I know pain does stuff. I'm just saying it's one of those things that you truly have to ask yourself, if I were in that situation, could I do it? I don't know if I could, but
I would try.
yeah, exactly. I would give it absolutely everything I possibly
Well,
could.
for one thing, if you flinched and got hit by the needle and you died, that would definitely be the deal breaker for me.
Well, Paul knows,
Yeah.
and he's in a position where he can't get out.
yeah,
of it.
exactly. And
So,
so it just all depends. I think I have a high pain tolerance, but I've been known to be a little bitch.
Yeah. So let's elaborate a little bit on the plot. So the film starts off with a narration by Zendaya, because surprisingly she does very little in this film, so they may as well make her the narrator. Um, and it basically talks about how this planet, Arrakis, is the source of a substance called spice. And spice is essentially this galactic drug that is capable of enhancing your mind, making you smarter, making you stronger, making your body healthy.
It does different things to different people, but the members of the Spacing Guild, it allows them to do the necessary calculations for space travel. So
Which is-
without spice,
yeah.
there is no galactic empire.
So it's absolutely invaluable. And for a long period of time, the planet of Arrakis was subjugated by a family known as the Harkonnens, who essentially treated the people of Arrakis, known as the Fremen, like crap.
Oh yeah.
And so the film starts off with, out of nowhere, the Harkonnen have been essentially told by the Emperor of the known universe, get the hell off of Arrakis, I'm giving it to someone else. Clearly they're not happy with that. And the people who get Arrakis are the Atreides family.
There are Starks for the evening. They're the nice ones.
Yeah, sort of.
Nice one.
Yeah, it's I honestly, yeah. Oscar Isaac plays the leader of the Atreides, and I know it's just a great performance and just well written as a very kindly, reasonable, loving authority figure, which
Killer.
is seemingly not faithful to the book based on what the video said.
But
But it works, and Oscar Isaac is so Oscar Isaac does it. He pulls it off, and he's likable. You like
Yeah.
this Duke.
I like Oscar Isaac. I want to like Oscar Isaac and stuff. So
It's like the dad we all
Yeah.
wanted.
yeah, exactly. And so
It's
with
not even him. It's the writing too.
Yeah.
You like
Okay.
this Duke.
True,
really
but it definitely was amplified by Oscar Isaac's charisma because he's a phenomenal actor.
And I suspect now, does the film make it plain, or is it just kind of more of an implication that the Emperor has handed off Arrakis from the Harkonnens to the Atreides in order to get them to fight each other and kind of get them both of these powerful popular families kind of out of his hair?
They allude to that.
Yeah.
They allude the fact that
I guess,
the
why the
Atreides-
hell else would he do that? Right?
the Atreides family knows that doing this is going to put them in serious danger because the Harkonnen are not going to be happy.
No.
And they know that unless they find a way to actually make use of, well, as Leto calls it, desert power, by which he means the Fremen, unless he finds a way to broker peace with them and work with them, they're screwed.
Yeah,
They will.
The Fremen have been on this planet for so long, and they know how it works. So it figures he basically figures if he can recruit the locals, they have a chance against the probably these presumably superior military might of the Harkonnens, because
Yeah.
the Harkonnens they are more warlike.
Well, that, and they've also said that the Fremen are some of the fiercest fighters known in the universe.
Yeah, there's that.
And so he also realizes that by utilizing that, the enemy of the enemy is my friend sort of mentality, they figure they have a better chance of not only making more money as they harvest spice, because they won't constantly be attacked, but also the idea that they'll have a good defense if someone does try to mess with them.
Yeah.
So Duke Leto, his concubine Jessica, because they are not married. That's something I did not fully realize until I was watching the movie. And his son Paul.
Even the movie's credits call her Lady Jessica Atreides, which is not accurate.
No.
Yeah. And well, I don't really know how last names work in this, but it doesn't matter. And of course, their son Paul all leave their planet of Caladan, which is known for beautiful jungles and vast oceans.
Yeah.
Very beautiful looking cinematography for the planet alone.
Yeah, for a plan that we don't spend much time on. Yeah.
Well, they do a good job of establishing their life there before they have to move on. But the story is them leaving their planet and having to essentially be in charge of Arrakis and take over these spice operations, and everything building to when eventually the shit will hit the fan.
Oh, and it does.
And it does.
Bad.
But that's the other thing. They start off by showing visions that Paul has when he's sleeping and later when he's awake of all these various things that could be happening. In one vision, he sees everything on fire, which is later called back to in a scene in the film. In another one, he sees his friend Duncan, Idaho. Yes, there's a real name. I don't
Again, Idaho.
for all of his great commentary on human conditioning and the power of the human mind, Frank Herbert really should have consulted a name guide for
Really dropped the
Duncan,
ball on him.
Idaho.
I mean, it's the one name that really stands out.
Yeah.
Duncan, Idaho.
Also,
Suspension of disbelief broken.
of all the states, why Idaho? Come on.
Duncan, Florida.
Duncan, Washington was right there. It's
Nah.
right next to you.
Duncan, Montana sounds better.
Eh,
For some reason, anything with Montana sounds better. I don't know why.
I don't know.
West Virginia.
Duncan, the U.S. Virgin Islands. But regardless, Paul is having all these visions. He doesn't know what they mean, and that's just it. Since his mother is a Bene Gesserit, he has been trained in her ways, despite the Bene Gesserit being a
Strictly female.
an order of women.
Yeah.
And so it's revealed shortly after he has the test by Mother Goddess that the Bene Gesserit, through years of genetic manipulation of all these great houses in the universe, they are trying to essentially create their own messiah, if you will. This child,
The Kwisatz Haderach.
Kwisatz Haderach, who will be able to have power pretty much unmatched.
Yeah.
And the way they say it, the way I believe I heard it said in that video that I sent is the Kwisatz Haderach is going to be able to do what the Bene Gesserit can't, which is see the memories of male and female.
That's right. Yeah, the memories, the wisdom, it passes down on the female line. But yeah, the Kwisatz Haderach, the one man with Bene Gesserit power, will. Although they did think. No, the Kwisatz Haderach was supposed to be a girl, right? Jessica was supposed to control her
No.
body, have a girl, right?
No,
No,
what was supposed to happen
She was
is
supposed to
she
give it-
was supposed to have a female child with Duke Leto, but he really wanted a son, and her love for him resulted in her bearing a son for
Yeah.
him. If she'd had a daughter,
They were going to marry.
that
They were gonna
daughter's
marry the daughter
child was going to be the
the
Kwisatz Haderach.
Okay, so yeah, she did one early. Okay, so
She
yes,
essentially
Kwisatz-
skipped a generation, and they're pissed because
Okay, yeah,
they're
mad
not
at her.
convinced that Paul could be the
Be-
Kwisatz
yeah,
Haderach.
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, so and then so okay, so the Kwisatz Haderach is supposed to be a dude then. Okay,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
it
then
is.
and so yeah, and he'll have memory access through the male line as well, and so in other words, you'll remember everybody, everything.
And essentially have
That
unlimited
is
knowledge.
that is infinite wisdom right there.
There
You'll
you go.
remember everything.
Knowledge is power.
And so that is going on, and no one really knows what it means. Meanwhile, Paul, getting ready to go to Arrakis, is studying the lifestyle, studying the history, studying the wildlife, and all that, mostly as a means of filling us, the audience, in, because let's face it,
We don't know what's going on.
We don't
He's
really
basically
know.
watching YouTube guides to the setting just like we are.
Yeah.
We had to do after.
except he has a really cool 3D hologram display in his room, and we don't.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
we'll get to that, but still, it's a really, really fantastic buildup, because you know something weird is going on with Paul. You know something is going to happen on Arrakis. You know that tension is building, but you're not sure what to expect. You just know it's not going to be good. And honestly, that right there is how you set up a first act so well. And I feel that this film really does. The whole time, you're also seeing scenes with the Baron talking about, when is a gift not a gift? You get to see the villains are planning what they are planning, which is revenge, essentially. And it's so much fun to see it build to where it's going. And yeah, the first act really did an excellent job of setting everything up.
Well, I'm thinking, oh boy, this podcast is going to turn out exactly like my podcast, which has been on hiatus for over a year now. I started out not doing plot summaries, but then I started doing plot summaries, and it became so long, and I'm like, oh boy, is that going to happen here?
We can trim it down, but we do have to
Yeah.
explain a few
Yeah.
of these things.
Well, yeah, I think we're at a good stopping point. It's I mean we've set the scene, and the plot is basically the Harkonnens make their attack, and our heroes are trying to go to the Fremen to get that tactical advantage.
Yep.
And it's assassinations and plans within
Plans,
plans, schemes
exactly.
within schemes.
Lots of that.
Yeah.
And
Lots of respect.
yeah, I mean, I definitely want to talk about some of the pieces of world building,
Sure,
but
yeah.
not immediately. We're still on the
Yeah.
plot. I just
Yeah.
definitely wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, you were about to say something. I'm very sorry.
No, you said it. Plots within plots. Twist among twist. There's a bunch of that, because even like that. Talking about it, the Harkonnen wanted so much. Wanted to be like inside the Fremen to backstab the Atreides, because they actually wanted a Chris knife. A knife that is made from one of the fangs of the
tooth of a
worm.
sandworm,
The tooth
yeah,
of a sandworm,
and the
which is a very high symbolism of the Freeman. And they're
The sandworm is essentially a
They're-
deity to
yeah,
them.
Yeah.
their
It's
maker.
highly worshipped amongst them.
Exactly.
it's easy to
And-
see why.
And they actually they wanted to like pretty much have their own mole in the Freeman to stop the Atreides. And it's like you said, it's plots within plots, twist within twist. And I love the Freeman as
Fremen.
the Fremen. Thank you. The Fremen as like a group, as like a tribe, as they are of native.
Yeah, as from what little we've seen of them, the movie ends just as we're really getting into their hiding space.
Also, it's nice to see Javier Bardem not play a villain for once.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's so intense. It's
Yeah,
real good.
he's a phenomenal actor, but ever
Mhm.
since No Country for Old Men, he scares me.
Became less scary when he played the Pirates of the Caribbean guy.
Okay.
But still, him as Stilgar, I think his name Stilgar.
I believe so. Stilgar. Yeah.
Stilgar. He was the leader of the Fremen.
Or
And
that section.
that section of it. It was even explained that when he came into the room, he had this aura of power and commanding power that he had amongst them. And when
And then he spits on you.
and he spits on you. And the reason why he spits on you because for them, spitting moisture is their way of like
Yeah.
blessing each other.
Well,
They're, like,
Giving
giving you
what
moisture.
precious moisture you have
Mhm.
is a
Yeah.
sign of respect.
Exactly.
amongst the
Yeah, and
Fremen.
I love cultural stuff like that because it's so hard to do right. It's one good I think another good example I could think of that just really makes sense is from the Aragon series of all things, where which isn't usually very creative, but the Urgles, who are basically the orc equivalent in that series, they when they approach you, they go like this,
they show their neck.
revealing their vulnerable throat, because if they were to bow their heads to you, well, then they could headbutt you.
Yeah. It's just that sign of
Yeah.
respect because like
Yeah,
I
just respect cultural differences, and that is a hard thing to do in fiction, because like fictional curse words and slurs just never work because there's no impact because there's no history.
Yeah.
But just fictional cultures are something
Well,
that's very
and-
hard to do, and
Well, again,
especially
with a
to-
planet like Arrakis where moisture is so sacred,
yeah,
it makes perfect sense. One of my favorite scenes is when Paul is walking outside the palace and there are palm trees,
Yeah.
and they say, these palm trees require so much water, and he's like, but that seems like a waste. All that water could go to save however many lives.
Yeah.
It's like, but these trees are sacred because of the importance that they play and how much water they need.
Which that
I
was
find the logic a little
was-
weird,
it's
I'm pretty
different
sure it
from the
was
book.
bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do understand the idea that if something requires that much water, I understand why they consider it precious.
Mhm.
Well, Also, because like in that scene specifically, because in the book they talk about it's actually a garden and
It's
it's
yeah,
kind
it's
of
a
wealth
it's a
and
conservatory.
conservatory,
I figured a
and the
lot.
people hated it and they weren't considered sacred.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure the guy saying that the trees are sacred is bullshit.
It
I mean,
is.
I think
They are
I
sacred.
think something that requires a lot of water would be written off as weak. I think
Yeah.
that would be the status quo in a world without moisture. It'd be like that Mad
Cactus.
Max bit. Be careful not to be
Yeah.
addicted to water. Right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not as meaningful when you have like a cactus standing there. though.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I am saying I do think that it was a good visual representation of the idea of
Like we're giving this life essence to this.
what
thing.
could be used for people is being used for something that isn't even native to the planet.
Yeah.
And
Which
the fact that even Paul is able to, well, not even Paul, but the fact that Paul is able to recognize so early on just how desperate for water
mhm.
these people really are.
Oh yeah.
And the idea that for so long in his life, being on a planet surrounded by it, he never really stopped to consider
How
just how precious a
delicate
resource it
it is.
is. So that's why I like that scene, is that you really get to start seeing Paul put his perspective into
Well-
the eyes of what the Fremen view water as and why it's so precious. to them.
I really hope I'm right in that the gardener is just full of shit when he
Shit.
says it's
I feel like-
sacred. I think it's just an ostentatious display of, hey, we got water and you don't, right?
Yeah, but I think it's that too. But that's what the whole movie is of like this. It's supposed to put your self in a different perspective. Pull yourself out, put you in a different point of view.
Yeah.
And so that's like this whole movie is about like awakening and like opening up your mind and like just being, for one, just like trying to understand each other
Yeah.
and not being a cunt raging asshole who enslaves people to cure spice and take over and dilute everybody because they don't want to give them water and shit.
Giving into your own greed and your own
Giving your own greed and lust
impulses.
was like Vladimir Harkonnen is huge about.
and it's great that it's just the Atreides are good heroes because that's just not on their mind at all.
No, and especially with Leto, how he even says he wants to work with him constantly.
and how
always with him.
when he goes to save the spice mining machine, he goes to save everybody on there.
All
Yeah.
of it, and not just leave him.
He doesn't care about the spice that'll be lost from the harvester.
Mhm.
He only cares about getting the people
People
out
out
of
of
there,
Mhm.
which
He's very.
that's part of the reason
hero.
why he's such an influential and charismatic leader
Yeah.
that inspires loyalty.
Oh yeah.
And that's why the emperor is threatened by him.
Because it's
Indeed.
not
and
about
wants
that
him
money.
the way.
It's not always about that money.
Yeah.
And I love speaking of that, even that scene itself was that it was sabotaged, that the spice the skimmer was supposed to fail on purpose because that there's this like you said, plots within plots, always having that, and like it felt like a test that they were trying to give.
But did the Harkonnen sabotage
Yeah,
their
yeah.
last machine?
It was
Yeah,
either-
yeah.
I can't remember if it was either Harkonnen or the Freeman.
No, it was the Harkonnen. The
Yeah, it was the Harkonnen
the
machine.
Harkonnen even said that a lot of the spice refineries were sabotaged, leaving them with
Yeah.
only so much capacity to actually process the
Yeah.
spice. Because before they left, they
Just destroyed everything.
sabotaged a whole bunch, and that's part of the reason why the skimmer.
It's not us.
The harvester was not able to be lifted by the device. I can't remember the name of it, but it wasn't able to be lifted because one of the anchors failed. They sabotaged it.
Which was still a good scene because then it shows you the size and the premise of the worm where it comes and gobbles the whole harvester up. in
Yeah,
one
it
gulp.
goes to show just how dangerous those worms can be.
And honestly, I like their the different worm from the book because like you can see pictures of the worm coming out of the ground from the book, and it looks like if you just open up your hand.
Yeah,
like that.
it is. Yeah, it's. I will. I'm not. That was kind of one of my lore talking point was the sandworms. I'm not fond of the designs. Yeah, it's just a tube with the big asshole at the end, and it's I don't know. I don't know. Just in the '80s version, the worm they just had he's kind of a little worm face,
Well,
something.
I think the reason for that is because there was also the scene where Paul is staring down the worm where him and his mom gets stranded in the desert. We're jumping a little bit here in the story requirements.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's I get the
It's supposed to
intimidation
look like
factor
an
of it being
omelet.
all mouth and
Well, it's not even that, because when Paul looks through it, you can see the other two mouths that it has, and it's making a clicking noise, like a resonance, where it's trying to like echolocate him. But it's supposed to symbolize a giant eye, like Paul is staring down
Essentially
the eye
into
of the
the
desert,
void.
into the void of this God, this maker of the Fremen, and
Yeah.
he's like trying to understand it and also not be one with it, but be a part of it.
yeah, these worms, they're definitely one of the iconic science fiction
Oh,
monsters. Just these
Yeah.
armor-plated worms, well over
Big.
1,000 feet in length.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you walk anywhere too loudly, too rhythmically, your ass is et.
Yep.
And you can't get rid of them because they're what the spice comes from.
Yeah. It's an
Also,
organic thing that comes out of them or falls off.
well, and it's a byproduct.
Byproduct.
But again, the other reason you can't kill them is, again, the Fremen consider them sacred.
Sacred. Yeah.
They don't want to get eaten by them, obviously, but
Yeah.
they also know
But
that part of the reason Harkonnen can't just come in and completely decimate them is they
they're
will get
sacred.
eaten by sandworms
Exactly.
if they try and screw with them. So
But that's why he tries to fuck with the Atreides, and that's when he comes in and they finally have the Harkonnen attack, where they come into I forget where they're staying. Is it the factory or the facility?
no, they're staying in the capital of Harkeen,
Okay.
the palace.
Oh, okay, because for me there are a lot of jump. Sorry, felt like something bit me. They finally have the attack, which is a great show of the fight choreography that they have to, because all these characters in this world, which I love this, there are no robots, there are no computers, and there's no AI. So they found out that people used those for bad intentions, trying to enslave humans, and in doing so got rid of guns and well, they didn't get rid of lasers.
Well, okay, the lack of guns and lasers is on account of the personal shield, which
Shield, yeah.
is an element I definitely want to
I
get
love
into.
that.
Yeah.
That's where I was heading.
Yeah, the personal shield. It's just it's a skin tight force field,
Mhm.
and how it works is it blocks anything that's traveling above a certain speed. So bullets are useless in this universe.
Completely.
Laser guns, if laser guns hit a personal shield, well, that sets off a chain reaction that also explodes the wielder of the laser gun as well as the shielded. So
So they're
laser
too
guns are
risky.
laser guns are also worse than useless. So this space empire does all its warfare with swords and knives, and the martial arts focuses on very carefully penetrating the shield with a slow attack.
Mhm.
Mhm. And that is one thing I think that is really well done in this particular film, is the idea of showing those personal
Mhm.
shields, where if an attack is
Yeah,
too fast, the shield is blue.
They're usually invisible, yeah, but
But
when
if it's just the right speed, it glows orange, knowing it's penetrating the
Yeah.
shield.
yeah, that was a very good visual effect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because then when you
visual storytelling, I should
yeah,
say. Yeah,
well, and I mean that's perfectly demonstrated in Paul's training sequence, where he turns on his shield and then he bonk bonk hits it twice, quickly blue, and then slowly and you see
Drops it in.
orange.
yeah,
Um,
and it's done to really good effect during one of Duncan's fights
yeah.
near the end. Yeah,
Well, another thing, the other reason I think it works so effectively is when the attack on the Atreides happens by the Harkonnen, is when you're seeing all these people fighting and you're seeing these shields, when you see those flashes of orange, you know, okay, that attack is connected. That one is hitting.
That one didn't.
Yes.
That one bounced off.
Yeah, you can see what a killing blow essentially looks like.
Oh, yeah.
And if these were just invisible, you wouldn't be able to see that. So it'd be like, so why did that one work and that one didn't?
Real quick. Duncan Idaho, is he the singing bard or the pilot?
Gurney is the singing.
Gurney's the singing bard.
Well, yeah.
minstrel
Or the
warrior.
minstrel warrior.
yeah,
Played by Josh Brolin.
Because the reason why I brought that up, because I wanted to get this right. The scene with Jason Momoa, that fight scene that he had as Duncan Idaho going through and killing all the Harkonnen and the other Sardaukar, showing that he can bring it in fast and then slow down like within a second. He dedicated that fight scene to Khaleesi, because during that part he just got done watching the new final release of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
And
poor guy.
I know, yeah. And so in doing so, he dedicated that whole fight scene to
To
Khaleesi.
Emilia Clarke, yeah.
Emilia Clarke, yeah.
The thing I did like about those battles is, like we said, the slow blade is the one that actually penetrates. But when you're
Very
watching
compressed.
it's not like you're watching someone go and
No.
just like
No.
fake you out to go slowly. No, it all looks so smooth and so seamless.
Yeah, that's
The fight choreography in this is just absolutely amazing.
I love, yeah, I love the idea of the personal shield. I fully intend to steal it for something. 'Cause I think it's a great. I think it's a great. I think what I like about it is that it allows your characters to dress however they want instead of worrying about practical armor. I like that about it.
But
Oh,
also,
man.
Star Wars did steal it because the Droidekas shields, they were high velocity shields. But if you
Yeah, but
rolled
they're
a
not-
grenade underneath it, went through the shield.
Um,
But
the
this
one
you could do better.
going to things like clothes and all that other stuff. I'm curious to get your opinion. What did you think of the still suits?
Loved them. Love the
pretty,
premise of
pretty
it.
snazzy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Looked a little too motocrossy for me.
yeah, it was. I guess
I can see
it's
that.
interesting that is it that the Fremen have technology that advanced as well. Like I didn't expect that. I thought they were primitives, but no, they have these suits that could convert all the moisture that the body loses into fresh water that you can keep drinking. And yeah, you need that if you're going to go exploring. And yeah, that makes a lot more sense, in this setting where I assume that every planet is inhabited by humans because that's how the Galactic Empire worked. That is, they all spread from Earth, and so yeah, the Fremen they started with that technology, and which yeah, that's just kind of my this is kind of how I justified that, what my logic went. But yeah, I no, I found the still suits pretty snazzy looking. Not just in their function, but
Yeah.
they looked good, and costuming overall was good. It wasn't too fancy, but
Yeah.
it was quite good.
I personally, the thing I really like about the still suits is their design is something that I'll always be able to attribute to this film, but they don't look gimmicky.
No.
Totally.
They could have done something just really outlandishly sci-fi.
Oh,
Like
the old movies did.
like oh, you're seeing water constantly circulating
Flowing.
like tubes are, and no, you don't see
Yeah,
stuff like that.
would have been
They
obnoxious. Yeah.
but they could have done. Thankfully, they didn't. They took a much more subtle approach, and I
the
really
Fremen are very practical. They wouldn't be
Yes.
too fancy.
and with the exception of it looking kind of goofy when they have the little nose pieces, but I mean, I get why that's there. I just think it's a little goofy. But that said, I really just like the fact that, if I see that at like a cosplay, convention or something, I'll know exactly what it's from.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
Especially
I
if you see,
think,
like the rags
I think,
hanging off 'em.
I think that's exactly what a good costume should be.
Instantly recognizable.
Yes, instantly recognizable.
Cosplayable.
But again, it's still fitting the theme of this story.
Oh,
And again, in this one, with a couple of exceptions, it's not supposed to look grand and fancy and pretty all the
No.
time.
it's gonna look done sometimes dirty and dingy and a little bit worse for
Used.
wear.
It's gonna look used.
And
Yeah, that's
there-
something Star Wars is always good at. All the technology and outfits look used.
Yeah, there are some exceptions, obviously, like in the beginning when
Got created.
the Leto family is dressed in military attire to welcome the Emperor's messenger.
Mhm.
But for the most part, they don't look too, like I said, pretty.
Yeah. Nice. Even the space navigators that use the spice
The
to
Spacing Guild, yeah.
Spacing Guild that they use to navigate space. We kind of skipped over a piece of technology that I love, but they're supposed to look like these weird creatures because the spice has morphed them. But even how they have them, they kind of have them in a nice
Yeah,
bubble.
they're subtle about it in this
It
film.
was very subtle.
they're still human shaped, but they wear spacesuits that completely conceal all the features of their bodies. So if they'll be unveiled in the next film, I don't know. But yeah, the
see how they
Spacing
look.
Guild.
But even if they don't unveil them outside of those suits, if you see somebody in that suit, though,
You're gonna
you
recognize
automatically know they're a member of the Spacing Guild.
Yeah.
And again, that's just what
what-
good visual identity is.
Yeah, well, even like from the different houses, like there's I think 6 in total, but we only know of the 2 from the movie.
The only two important ones
Important
are the
ones.
Harkonnens and
And
the
the
Atreides in
Atreides.
this film. Yeah.
And so, and then you definitely know the difference. The Harkonnens or the Atreides kind of keep themselves cleaner, more well set, more military, like almost like a fancy military. Harkonnens are more like very, I wouldn't say dirty, but dark
I was gonna
colors,
say barbaric.
Barbaric, yeah.
very barbaric,
Warlike.
almost like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think it's from Star Trek. The
Klingons.
Klingons, very Klingon.
I was gonna say I'm getting like Athens versus Sparta vibes.
Yeah, kind of like that too.
And
Houston would be a great Klingon.
Yeah. Man, anything he's good at. And then like even the crazy third group that comes in,
Are you talking about the Sardaukar?
Sardaukar,
Yeah,
the white
I-
suits
Yeah.
with the 3 red lines going down them.
yeah, Sardaukar.
And they're very, very weirdly religious because that's like their whole premise. And I don't even understand like the reviews didn't fully go into them. All I know about them,
Yeah, I didn't really understand them either.
crazy religious warmongering people.
The Sardaukar are supposed to be like the supreme warriors that serve directly to the Emperor, that the Harkonnen were able to more or less purchase and dress up as Harkonnen soldiers to essentially.
Okay.
They're supposed to be the nastiest fighters you can essentially
Ever do.
find.
Yeah.
That are supposed to report directly to the Emperor, but the Harkonnen were able to, like you said, essentially pay for them and use their
And that's
use their forces as a means of kind of a false flag approach of putting them in Harkonnen uniforms and then
attack
going after them.
Yeah.
Which again is what the Emperor wants. He wants these two at war with
Always
each
fighting
other.
each other. Yeah. Always.
So they won't be a threat to the Emperor's position.
But yeah, and it's just that like you said, that where they take like the stories and references from everywhere and like how they have it. And like these how you pronounce the name again?
Sardaukar.
Sardaukar. The scene where they're all there and they come from a planet that's always raining. It's always raining on this planet. I forget what the planet's name is, but it's so cool how they bring in the scene. It's 100 of them all sitting ready to go to battle, and there's this one dude standing on a podium, and he's doing what's Mongolian throat singing, and it's just this awesome scene, and there's like talking about it, but in the background, because they kind of do a close up of it too, you can see a bunch of dudes hanging upside down, and their blood's just dripping down in these troughs, and they're just collecting the blood and just like smearing on their warriors' faces.
Yeah.
And you know, in every movie that has this weird bloodlust thing that has with their warriors, they're a bunch of badasses.
Yeah.
And they play
Blood for the Blood God.
Blood for the Black God.
I don't remember what that's from. Though. I don't know.
I've heard it a bunch on GTA Online.
But anyway, so like we were saying though, phenomenal fight scenes, fight choreography. But like you said, part of it is so intriguing because of the plans within the plans within the plans. And one thing I truly loved in this film, I mean, I loved a lot of this film, but one thing I really enjoyed is you knew that there was a trap waiting to be sprung for them by the Harkonnen, but you didn't know exactly when. And I loved the reveal that it was Dr. Yue who actually gave them the key to get in and kill them. And, they say, oh, yeah, kill Duke Leto if you have to, but, leave Paul and Jessica out of this. Don't kill them. And he essentially is like, okay, lawyer logic. I'm not going to kill them. The desert's gonna kill him.
Banish him out.
But if it wasn't for Dr. Yue, they would have died in the desert. Dr. Yue actually did manage to give them supplies. He also just managed to get a whole bunch of other people killed too. But I love the fact
Just
that
business.
It's
but
business
but
to
what
you.
I loved is the fact that Dr. Yue did it knowing that even though he was doing something horrible and was going to suffer, he came up with a plan to kill the Emperor because the Emperor killed his wife,
Wife, yeah.
which was put in a fake tooth in Duke Leto's
Cyanide.
mouth.
Yeah, killed
And
not
then-
not the Emperor, but the Baron.
The
Yeah.
Baron,
Yeah.
sorry, the Baron. He kind of looks like he should be an evil emperor, but yeah, the Baron Harkonnen. The idea that when he breaks this tooth, he'll expel this gas that'll just kill everybody in the room, including Baron Harkonnen. And I love that idea that even though he knew that this was probably a, you know, beyond redemption, the chance that he could have the opportunity to kill someone who wronged him,
Oh,
I liked
way.
that.
And I like the little mystery because there's something different in the book that for Yue that's different in the book from the movie is that in the beginning you see this weird spider human creature.
There is this creature,
Yeah.
a human, but with
Human-
lots of spider
and
legs,
it's
and
thought
it's some
that-
kind of pet that the Harkonnens have.
Yeah.
No origins in the book,
No
but
origins.
it's suspected that that's what became of Yue's wife.
Yeah.
They haven't.
That's her.
It hasn't been confirmed by anything, but I like that theory enough that it's personal headcanon for me. That
Yeah,
that's what they did to his
Unless
wife.
the sequel says otherwise, which it probably won't. Not that important. you know?
Yeah, but it is a cool thought to just drive home how ruthless
Oh.
these people can
Oh.
be and how much you want to see them get their comeuppance.
Yeah, I mean, hey, whoever that thing was, it was obviously once human.
Yeah. Well, I think they do say it was once human in
Yeah.
the movie, so it's
it's so like that even that scene just how like it demonstrates the sacrifice that Leto does for his family and like to show that and it's just
Well-
this whole movie has been like ups and downs of emotions and progressions that it's just you can't almost can't keep track of it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and the movie does a good job of building tension where it needs to. The hunter seeker scene is an excellent example. In the scene, a small drone-like object called a hunter seeker, which looks like a small insect with a long needle that can burrow into somebody's heart, finds its way into Paul's room. Paul notices it. Paul knows what it is and knows that the camera on the hunter seeker is pretty weak. So his only option to save himself is to stay very, very still. And he does so by hiding in the hologram currently playing in his room. And you get this wonderful tense moment. You know he's going to get out of it. I mean, he's on all the posters and we have another 2 hours left.
Exactly.
But it has this wonderful shot where you just see the needle right next to his eye.
Yeah, right in front of him.
And that is just, first of all, a needle next to the eye is just already such unsettling imagery. But the fact that he does not flinch at all, it goes back again to the Gom Jabbar scene of a needle at his neck, knowing full well, you move, you die.
It's a show of will and strength of his will.
It's just such an even if you don't know what this thing is, you know he is in danger. That is a threat, and you know he's going to get out of it, but you don't know how.
And also,
and that's what's so much fun.
I also want to know how long that fucking assassin was hiding in that wall because it looks like they broke that wall open. So it looks like he was in there. They made the wall into it like he's been there for like 5 years or something, just waiting for his moment.
Yeah. So yeah, after Paul manages to stop the hunter seeker, it's revealed that there was a Harkonnen assassin who's now dead, who was hiding in the wall of
the palace
trying to kill him. And the implication I got is that once his scheme failed, he
offed himself.
He offed himself, kind of like a spy in a cyanide capsule.
It just looked like me. They found like a weird tomb and then in the palace. It was like
my real estate agent didn't say anything about this.
Yeah, deadly assassin bug coming at me all the time. Dead people in my walls. But no, it's just I love the whole premise of the movie because of that, and And then it's almost different, like from the half part of the movie, because how that your video said this movie is based off the first half of the first book.
Yeah.
And how the author writ those books is very climactic, very like sensual. Like he's supposed to be like it was described in the way of like you're supposed to be with a woman and like work and like both getting that tension built up to where you'll have the satisfying climax. Right now, we're kind of like getting towards the build up. And it's just, I love also the switch of going from this political talk warfare to now Paul and his mom Jessica, because they escaped from the attack, are now in the desert with the Freeman.
Yeah, it's the politics and the mysticism again.
It's all-
That's very like Game
Yes.
of Thrones.
Yeah, it's over now. Now we're into the almost indigenous tribal kind of mystical life that the Fremen live.
So expect a lot more philosophy in the next one.
And the whole thing is like Paul, they have to like sleep in this tent in the middle of the desert, and like there's a sandstorm coming around him, and it's knocking all the spice around. And while it's doing this, Paul is just tripping his balls off, seeing different shit, and like what's the her name?
Lady Jessica.
No,
Janie,
that's her name. I lost both.
Zendaya's character.
Zendaya's character. I lost
Yeah.
both names. I lost Zendaya and Shani. Seeing her and like, and he's like, I see the fire encapsulating all of us. And then he sees the holy war where he's part of it, and like the helmet comes off him, and you can see his blue eyes because he's been inhaling the spice so much.
Yeah.
And you see in this background the worm like breaking over in the distance. And
Yeah.
it's just like the main thing though is that he's tripping balls.
Well,
I like that part.
and that's the thing. Spice exposure to him increases the Bene Gesserit powers that he has to be able to see things. He's prescient,
Yeah.
so he can see various realities playing out before him,
Yeah.
but he
Like
doesn't
a
know which
Doctor
one.
Strange event.
He doesn't know which one is real.
Mhm.
Which one is going to actually come to pass.
I actually like that because we're gonna the scene where he's sitting with I forget his name, the indigenous tribesman that he fought.
The one that he fought, yeah, in one vision,
he's like a friend.
they're best friends
Yeah.
essentially, but
And
in
they're-
this one, he has to kill him.
Yeah. He's like I want to fight you. You disrespect this, and like he challenges him to the death duel.
So his visions aren't perfectly accurate.
No,
There
but-
are
well-
other options for the future.
But that was also representation of when he had to fight him, that he had to kill off Paul had to kill off his childish self.
Yes.
And had to intentionally grow up.
Well, and there were some visions where he saw himself dying in that
Yeah.
fight,
Oh
too.
yeah. And then
So-
that fight as well, being killed by him, stabbed with the
Chris knife.
Chris knife. Christ.
Yep.
And it's just like I love the whole. There's always something to be learned. There's always something to be taught. There's always something plot within a plot, a story within a story, a meaning within a meaning, and just that's what I love about Dune so much.
Yeah.
And that's where we're kind of coming into the end of this, is where after Jessica and Paul meet with the Fremen, they run back into Stilgar again, and they have to make sure that they, what does he call them? Stilgar calls them jinn or human, meaning like are they desert apparitions or desert spirits that are now a part of them, and it's just like this cool transition where they are becoming the Fremen, Jessica and Paul.
They gotta prove themselves
Prove
worthy,
themselves. That's what I was trying to
because you gotta be tough out there in the desert.
in the desert. Desert power. Remember, desert power.
Yep.
And then come to the final end scene where Jessica and Paul are walking with the Fremen,
and they see a worm rider.
They see a worm rider.
Worm rider. Yeah, that's
they-
like the ultimate test of adulthood, I guess, pretty much. Of worthiness is you attract a worm, and then you get this little hook in it, so you can push it where you want to go. It's
And then
and
says the whole set.
that also brings me to one more thing. This is previous, but when they're escaping the Harkonnen, I love the scene where Kynes,
scientist,
the scientist Kynes is trying to buy time for them by placing a thumper to get a sandworm to come there, and they essentially say, you're totally, screwed. You're going to die. And says, I serve one master, Shai Halud, and starts pumping her fist against the
Grandma.
sand to attract the sandworm, and just swallows everyone.
I love it too. 'Cause it's like that just you see the vibrations in the sand and it just starts to build up more and more.
Yeah.
And you just see the teeth protrude through and then they just start to
Yeah.
sink.
Yeah, but it's just such a badass moment for that character to go out. And also, I got to give props to the filmmaker. I like the idea that that character in the book was originally a man.
Yeah.
I like the fact that in this case, making it a woman, I don't think it took anything away from the character in the original
No, I don't
book.
think so either.
And I
at
think
all.
it goes. I think
I
it's a
think it
great
just
example
adds.
at the idea that casting, can be so open depending upon who is the right person for the job,
Yeah.
man or woman.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
agree with
forget
you.
the actress's name, but she did a phenomenal job.
Mhm.
And like I said, she has one of the most badass scenes when she summons Shia LaBeouf to
Yeah,
eat
with her
everybody.
fist,
With
like
her
she
fist.
had a
The idea that it's like,
she had a
I ain't going out like that.
And that's just
okay, her name, Sharon Duncan Brewster.
Thank you. Yeah. Phenomenal job.
yeah, and it's just how she was portrayed. Even that scene where she does like get stabbed, you see water shoot out of her, implying that
Out of the still
Yeah,
suit.
yeah, she got
but
stabbed in the
also
still suit, so
meaning
yeah,
that their
symbolic.
blood is water too.
But yeah, that's
'Cause
water
we
is
are made of water.
is the life. Yeah, but and on Arrakis, water
Life.
is it's very precious. So yeah, that was some
Yep.
epic symbolism there.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's just how the whole movie came out. Loved it. I know we missed a whole bunch, and like we couldn't talk about it all because
There's just so much to talk
I
about.
mean, no, yeah, I mean, I don't know if hey, who's to say? I mean, hey, but I think if you don't want to talk about the movie for longer than the movie is, you got to skip some stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because like we didn't even get fully into the house. Like you said, the house. A lot of the houses are just pointless.
Yeah,
And, like
I mean, they
even
don't.
just the relationship between Vladimir and the sister group,
The Bene
the
Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit. There's a whole thing between them where he tried to, I think, have sexual relations with the mother, but ended up like raping her or something, or raping one of the Bene Gesserits.
I don't remember.
Nope, don't know what you're talking about, right? You watched more.
I watched more reviews, so I
the-
can't remember if it was the one you sent me or a different one.
Yeah, it's no, I don't. I don't. No, I don't
And,
recall it.
like I
Well, the
said,
reason why he's so fat though is because the mother Bene Gesserit curses him with this obesity, and so he was actually a skinny man when he was younger.
I thought it was the idea that he just indulged
Thought he
in
was
all
just
of
a
the.
glutton. Yeah.
No, that's the part of it too. Is that curse
The
included
Bene Gesserit made him a glutton.
made
Yeah.
him a glutton?
Yeah,
So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
because the Bene Gesserit's all about foregoing like those pleasantries and strengthening your mind.
It's about
He's
ultimate
about lust.
willpower. And
it's
self
about
control.
willpower, and
About
yeah,
willpower.
again,
He
gluttony
has
is
none.
the lack thereof. Okay, yeah, that makes some sense. If I don't know, I don't know how accurate you're being there, but yeah, I mean that seems like something
And
the
it's-
Bene Gesserit could do
It's
to
possible
punish
he's
somebody.
discussing something that is going to happen in the second book.
Well,
Because
that's what-
again, you and I say
Yeah,
we are trying to avoid spoilers.
We are avoiding
for the second
spoilers for the
one.
second half. Yeah.
I know a
I
few
will-
things, but not a lot.
But hey,
Yeah.
speaking of the Baron being fat, that was my third talking point. We naturally went through two of them. One being sandworms in general, personal shields, and the Baron in the book he's so fat that he needs an anti-gravity belt to be able to stand and walk. And one famous thing from Dominic Noble's videos is just his complete disbelief that both previous adaptations have misinterpreted that, and that he travels by turning on his anti-gravity belt and bobbing around like a parade balloon. It's like he's not supposed to float to the ceiling. It's to help him walk. And I wondered what would become of that in this adaptation. And he does float, but it's with modern special effects. He floats menacingly.
Yeah.
Well, again, he doesn't float
Slowly,
around
yeah.
unnecessarily. He's not just bouncing around. for
Yeah,
the sake
it's
of
just
doing
it's
it.
it's perfect control, like all the perfectly still balloons in the new It movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he does that more as a display of I'm the head bitch in charge, and I'm going to show it to you. by rising up now and making
Oh.
you look up at me. The only time he ever flies up towards the ceiling
Is
is
to
to escape death.
Is to avoid the poison gas attack, which is another excellent use to justify the
and
anti-gravity thing a little more.
and
Yeah.
it actually, leaves him pretty wounded too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he gets out of it entirely unfazed, but at least there it makes sense as to why he's floating up towards the ceiling, as opposed to
To just
again in the '80s film where he essentially is just bouncing around like a screensaver. So
But it was so menacing. I love it too when he's just like his toes are inches off the table and he's just like gliding over, almost like a ghost, like a phantom.
Yeah.
kind of.
Coming to your doom.
menacingly.
But now that y'all said he kind of looks like Balloon, that first scene when he does rise up, he does look very balloonish. the very It Balloon just rising up out of the ground.
to an extent, but like I said, more often than not, it's to assert
It
I'm in charge of the
it
situation.
expresses dominance, and it does so successfully. And you couldn't have done that with older special effects of floating.
And I do think the level of menace that you get from him is the fact that Stellan Skarsgård is just such a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I do think in the hands of a less capable actor, it can look silly.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I mean, just like think of the '80s version where he's saying all those lines about his plans within plans, but he's yelling them like a lunatic, and it doesn't work.
Well, I know we keep going, but that's the thing about that is that the villains were supposed to be blabbers. In the old version, he was blabbermouth. Literally said he blabbered on and on and on. But this version, he's very quiet, very keeps himself to himself, doesn't go on and get crazy and just get belligerent. And so that's like he makes it that, especially the actor, he does a very good job with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So again, one more time, just a phenomenal cast, just in general, because so much of those intentions are brought out through the fact that the actors knew their stuff, knew their job, and it showed up and did it well.
It's sometimes you see a movie like this and you feel like you're watching a bunch of celebrities, but no, I was very convinced that I was watching these characters.
Yes, exactly. And I find that can sometimes be very challenging when it comes to sci-fi films, because sometimes you've got new people who do not know what they're doing, and then you've got these established older actors who want to play it like some of their other characters, but they don't understand the material, and it comes across as wooden or unconvincing. In this case, I don't believe that really befalls anybody in particular.
No.
I was concerned that Jason Momoa was going to play Duncan Idaho like Aquaman. And he's got kind of that confidence and swagger, but it absolutely worked for the character who's supposed to be this fearless fighter.
I will say
it absolutely worked.
He did kind of look like a swashbuckling pirate during that fight because his shirt was all flowy and blousy.
Yeah.
He looked ass. He looked like not ass. He
but
looked like
considering he had a shield, he could wear a flowy blousy shirt.
That's what I'm
still
saying.
it's exactly like exactly. So
like it was great. The whole cast, movie, story, plot, choreography, music, everything about this movie was just great.
Yeah, and I'm super amped to see the sequel.
Oh, that was my first thing. Soon it was over. When's the next one? I want more.
November 3rd. And see, that was the thing. When this movie came out, it was when HBO was doing the simultaneous HBO Max and theater releases, and in 2021 I opted for the HBO release. And I still love the film, but I hate the fact that I didn't ever see this film in a movie theater.
So
we're correcting that.
We're going to Springfield to see it in IMAX.
Yes, we are. Yes, gonna happen. So should we just move into our final thoughts now?
I mean, I just have one more thing to mention. We haven't actually seen any of the teasers or trailers for the second part, but I did get a glimpse of it, and my only thought was, that's not Christopher Walken, is it? And it is.
Yes, it is.
The spice must flow.
I don't know, my hair. It's spices in my hair.
I do like the fact that there's one moment in this movie, the first movie, where they're discussing their potential political strategies to try and, get back into their graces and all this. And Paul says, the emperor has daughters who are not of marrying age. And it's like, yeah, that's the perfect way to get your revenge. You try and kill my family, I'm gonna sleep with your daughter.
So yeah, so Christopher Walken is the emperor, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strike me down with all your hatred.
Yeah.
Do it.
The woes.
I'm trying to think of the most recent movie I've seen Christopher Walken in, like in live action. I'm trying to think what the
I don't
most
know.
recent one is.
No, I haven't seen him for a while, but yeah.
Muppet Pirates.
No, he wasn't in that.
You didn't play Captain Hook now?
No.
You're thinking of Peter
Tim-
Pan Live.
Oh,
Yeah.
Peter Pan Live. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Muppet Treasure Island was Tim Curry, and
Yeah.
that was Long John
Oh,
Silver.
Yeah, that was not recent. No, it was.
No,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I'm thinking
classic
recent
cinema.
Hairspray. I think that was a while.
2007.
Yeah, for a country band. This isn't over.
So.
Fans.
I mean, I've seen him make a couple of appearances on TV, and I've heard his voice and things, but I can't remember the last
I don't know,
major
the
live
thing
action
is,
film I've
he
seen.
has for a long time been playing that caricature of himself. It's
I mean, he won an Oscar for The Deer Hunter. I mean, after that,
mhm.
what do you have to prove? I'm
To be
kidding.
a better Christopher Walken.
I'm kidding. I love Christopher Walken. I really, really do. But I wasn't expecting him to play the Emperor. I'll
No,
say
and I
that.
say but I love him, and I know it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm not being a snobby, but we're just having some fun saying things like, the slow blade penetrates the shield, because everybody's got a Christopher Walken
Yeah.
impression, you know.
Fear is the mind killer. Leo.
We must stop the Harkonnen and the Estrades from fighting with each other. But in fact, we might work out in the end.
All right, yeah, now we can do final thoughts. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Okay, we got it out of the way. So I was the one who suggested this movie, and I knew you guys would like it, but I didn't realize you like it this much. I'm glad you do, though. This movie was, like I said, one of the first times in a long time I've been really excited about a sci-fi franchise. Star Wars has kind of let me down recently, so I was happy to see something, even based off a property as old as Dune is, come in and just inspire me in terms of what sci-fi and film can achieve, and what films in general can achieve when actually put, the right passion, the right people, everything lining up to make a phenomenal product. I love the concepts. I love the script. Score is amazing. Some of the best cinematography I have ever seen in a sci-fi movie, ever. And like I said, the cast, everybody gave a phenomenal performance. Once again, I am always blown away at just how talented Timothy Chalamet is for his age. I'm always fascinated at how much depth that Paul is able to actually convey, especially since when you think about it, he's not long-winded. He doesn't speak in large amounts. A lot of the emotion he conveys is through his face, through his actions, and through his thoughts. And unlike the original movie, there's no inner monologue.
No.
But you're still able to understand what he's thinking, because Chalamet is that great of an actor at conveying those emotions to the audience with little to no dialogue. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see the sequel coming up. That said, if I do have one fault with this film, it is the ending. What can I say?
Very big.
It leaves me ravenous for more, because right as I feel like we're going to get to even more good stuff, it says, look, you've been here for 2.5 hours. We need time to make the next one. So
Still here?
I totally get it, but at the same time, it does kind of leave me with that vibe of there's still so much more to tell, and you don't have it. So that cliffhanger does lose a couple of points for me. I totally get why it's there. It doesn't feel like a blatant cash grab. I'm not mad at it, but I want more, and we're approaching 2 years. I'm ready for more. So I have to knock this film down to an A minus. Only because of the ending. Other than that, this is, like I said, not just an example of a great adaptation or a great sci-fi film. This is an example of a great film. Denis Villeneuve is one of the great directors coming up in our time.
Oh.
I'm always excited to see what he's doing. I'm really excited to see what he can do beyond not just Dune, but anything else he does. And oh man, I cannot stress this enough. If you have not seen this movie yet, go out and see it. Not only will you be doing yourself a favor, but Dune Part 2 will, I have no doubt, be just as phenomenal.
No.
And I really hope I'm not jinxing myself when I say that.
It's the second half of this film. It'll be fine.
It's going to be
Yeah.
fantastic. The passion for the book is clearly there in the director's script and in his direction in the filmmaker's script, everything. I'm rambling, but A minus, love this film. Check it out.
Okay.
Good.
I would like to clarify one thing Mason said. It's something that's not as infamous about the 80s Dune film as I think it maybe ought to be. The book was, of course, dependent upon the inner thoughts of all these characters, their plans within plans within plans, and the 1984 film gave every character an internal monologue, so you would know what they're thinking all the time. Films don't usually do that, and turns out there's a good reason, because that's stupid.
Yeah.
Don't want to stare at a person that's just a
Well,
blank face and you hear the
they're
voice.
just
From
thinking, yeah.
Well, and from the clips I've seen of the 80s version, it was really jarring to have these characters here. Go from one inner monologue to another inner monologue to another one to another one. It was really jarring. And so again, like I said, I think that speaks not just to Chalamet, but all the other actors. You could tell what they were thinking
Yeah,
just by watching.
that's how film is supposed to work. David Lynch.
Hey, David Lynch went on to do a lot of other phenomenal films. Okay.
But
What the hell happened with Dune then?
He was locked out of the editing room.
mm,
At least that's the rumor.
rumor has it. But me, this movie, loved it from the very beginning, wanted more after the end. Everything in between was great, just unbelievably great. The actors, the story plot, the whole dialogue between everybody. Like you didn't have to go on a deep review to understand this movie. Like there's a whole bunch of like inner dialogue and plot and all, like how we keep saying there's always inside stuff, always. But this movie is a great portrayal of you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to like, what about this? What about that? This movie tells you the story without the extra stuff, without all the, it really cuts all the, not even fat, but it really just gives you a good succinct storyline that is like, okay, here's the beginning, here's a bunch of stuff kind of in between that you kind of need to know here, there, cool stuff here, cool stuff there, and then you get to the ending where it's not an ending, but it, like you said, it's that kind of cliffhanger, and you're just like, what? It's over? I know this was like a 2.5 hour movie or more, but it's over? I want more. What? You can't just do that to me. Like, I want more. And it's just like the whole everything about it. Like I said, you didn't need to know the story plot or the lore of anything of that to really enjoy this movie. And all the actors, all the just how each actor brought their character there. And it's just I can't. I have no words because I can't get them all out in one go. And like, just I loved every part of it because it really, you could see the influence here, the influence there, the parts of like culture dipping into this of like Arabic culture coming into like the Fremen and like the political backstabbing, the assassins. That's like another thing that the whole story plot. There was a lot more assassins in this world. Like there was so much of that, like this backhandedness and assassins and people trying to cutthroat each other and uphand each other here and there. And it's just like I love the movie because it just really makes it this succinct, great story. And just how everything came together in the end, making you want more, making me go out and watch a multitude of different reviews and breakdowns of just this whole story, and makes you really like. If you just watch it just for the movie as it is, it's a great movie. But if you really want to delve into it and understand the characters and really like how the movie story is, you're supposed to break yourself out and put yourself in another spot position to see all the different points of view, really open your mind up and really like take in other people's thoughts and feelings and all that. It's just great.
If you like the film, you should read the book.
Yeah, I know that I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna just have an audio.
Let's stop halfway through the book so you don't
Yeah.
spoil the next movie.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
And so, but it's just so good whole way through. The only nitpick I have for, and this is just a personal one, the actor who played Leto, I
Mhm.
forget his name.
Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac. He played Moon Knight, and I can't get Moon Knight out of my brain every time I see him. I know he played Poe in Star Wars, but I see Moon Knight every time.
Spider-Man 2099, he's everywhere these
He's
days.
everywhere, which speaks to the actor as
Oh,
a
he's great.
great actor who can play any role.
He's good at what he do.
And so that's
Yes.
not really a downside, and it's not going to take anything away from my rating of this movie, because I give this an A plus 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 plus. If I could give so many more pluses, I would. I love this movie. Literally love this movie. This is one of my new favorite movies. It doesn't beat my movie that we watched. That's still my bias.
Okay,
It's
okay.
Speed Racer. But this is like either right next to Speed Racer or just like a little bit below, because Speed Racer it has more heart for me because I love it. It was growing up with it. But this one
See our
has,
first episode.
but yes, exactly.
Like I said, I figured you'd like it. I didn't realize you like it that much.
Oh my god. The reason why I love it so much is because it's a movie that can teach you how like to not be an asshole, to understand each other, go out there, and it's not about all the money, and it's not about making sure you're getting one over your fellow man. It's like it's literally the Atreides trying to be friends with the Fremen. We all just need to be friends and not always trying to get one another, and not trying to like, he's got that, so I want that, and blah blah blah, this and that. This movie really like tells you that, and really teaches you that, as long as you listen though. You have to listen. You can't just watch the movie for the movie, because like I said, it's a good movie just to watch, but you have to listen and watch, really listen and watch to hear all that and take it in. And so, like I said, A plus 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 plus.
Alrighty then. Easily the highest ranking I think we've ever had.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna have to write it down one of these days. Put it up on a database. But yeah, I don't know if we've I don't know if anybody's given anything an A plus yet. But yeah. I was yeah, I always knew mine would be short here. I didn't realize how much of a relief that would be after these two.
I could keep going about this, honestly.
Yeah, this was this is definitely a phenomenon that's gonna be remembered for a good long time, even though it's from an old book, and it's the third attempt to put it to the screen. It feels so fresh and new. And the director, he's finally got his name out there. Like his name was promoting this. It's definitely going to be one of the great filmmakers of our times. And yeah, I'm so excited for the second half. Just everything, music, and it's just a great film to look at, and the performances were intense, and I like a film that just takes itself perfectly seriously without lampshading everything all the time. It's a big sin now,
Oh my
taking
goodness.
yourself seriously, but it's good every once in a while to see something that does. It takes itself absolutely seriously. I give this film 5 Alaskan bullworms out of 5.
It's big, hairy, and pink.
A,
Maroon.
A plus for me as well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Loved it.
we are going on a little hiatus again. Once I've edited these two, we're gonna take once I edited the previous episode of this one, we're gonna take another month off. But let me Okay, let me cut this bit out as I pull up my calendar and see what we're doing in upcoming episodes.
Hey, what is the next movie we are watching?
We'll find out.
I don't
here.
remember. I'm just happy we were able to get to this one before the next one comes out.
Yeah, that was priority.
Yep. Well, like I said, I knew you would like this film.
Oh my
I
gosh,
knew you would.
dude, this movie blows me out of the water completely.
Yeah. And at some point, I would kind of like to show you guys Prisoners because, like I said, that was the first Denis Villeneuve film I ever watched. And oh my God, it blew me away. And I'm pissed to this day that Hugh Jackman was snubbed for an Oscar.
Brother.
I didn't have to cut that out. That was good dialogue right there. Okay, there is okay. We're okay, in addition to possibly the second Dune movie, we are looking at okay, upcoming is our next official choices for the movie nights. Mine was going to be a double feature: the short film Kung Fury, Mason seen and is not looking forward to, and also the web series There Will Be Brawl. And so that was going to be my choice. Mason's next choice was Walk Hard: The Dewey Cox Story,
Mhm.
and Aaron's choice was Forbidden Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
And there are some other things on the agenda which will surprise you. So thanks for joining us on this one. This is I think I put some money on this being our longest episode so far.
Oh, yeah.
Our Spider-Verse one also ran an hour and a half, but let's see what this is. I don't know. I don't see any timestamp on this recording. I'll find out in a minute. So yeah, thanks for joining us for this Dune episode. I hope it's going to be a big one, and yeah. So
Now we're out.
wow, I faded out right there. I faded out just there.
That's where you just cut it clean.
I was just thinking, yeah, I know we got, Mason got this great new webcam that to make everything piercing, but it also made everything too fucking dark. So we're back with mine again. So yeah, we'll have to get some lighting apparatus if we're
Yeah.
gonna get a really good image on these. But
Yeah, no.
hey, we're learning.
Yes.
Yes. On a budget.
Okay, and to support Tapas and learn more, visit our link tree. Tapas and Stuff Productions is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon, including Knight Sadie Allen.